Chapter 3. The Adventure Begins. Over the next few years, Zolan, Zara, Katrina, and Artis made money to support themselves by doing odd jobs for people all over the city, though none of their adventures took them far outside the city limits. Little did they know, their first true adventure was about to begin. Zolan's perspective. That night was just like any other, but I had a dream unlike any I had ever had before. It wasn't even a dream, really. It was more like I heard a voice talking to me in my head. It told me, after so many years, the time has finally come. Zolan, Zara, you are both finally ready for this journey. Come to me, and heal the blight that plagues the world. When I woke up, I felt a strange sensation inside me. It was like I was being pulled toward a particular location, and I had to follow the pull. I heard Zara mentioned in my dream, so I talked to her about this. She said she had the same vision and could feel the same pull. We knew we had to follow the pull, but decided that it would be a good idea to talk to Artis and Ketty about this first and see if they wanted to come with us. We all met outside the apartment complex we had lived in together since reaching adulthood. As an adult, I still looked pretty much the same way I did as a child. I still wore a green tunic and styled my hair the same way. Ketty looked the same way she had when we went on our first adventure together, though she was a little bit older than the rest of us and was already considered an adult by that point anyway. Artis now wore a red tunic instead of a white one. Zara had cut the ends of the spikes over her forehead, forming a neat row of hair, and wore a green shirt that cut off just above her navel, and a green skirt that stretched from her waist to her ankles. It was a rather ordinary-looking outfit, aside from the fact that it left her navel exposed. When Zara reached adult age at 14, she said she couldn't stand wearing a traditional woman's dress. She said she thought this outfit matched her personality better, but all I saw was my little sister bearing her navel. Zara and I told Ketty and Artis about our vision and asked them if they wanted to come with us as we followed the call. We had a feeling this was going to be a journey unlike any we had undergone before, and would have understood if they didn't want to come along. They told us they needed some time to think about it. After a while, Ketty came back to talk to us. Just Ketty. "I'm coming with you," she said. "What about Artis?" I asked. "Artis said he has some very important business to take care of," Ketty replied, "and won't be able to come along. I don't know what he means by that. You know Artis. He's always been a little dark and mysterious." "Yeah," Zara said, sounding a little disappointed. "But still, it's a shame our best friend can't come along on our first real adventure." We prepared for what we knew would be a long and difficult journey. No longer did we use those childish sticks to defend ourselves. I now used a hunting spear, and Ketty had a battle axe. Zara didn't carry a weapon. Magic was her weapon. We started by traveling north, about in the direction we could feel the pull coming from. Not long into our journey, we passed through another Protestant city. The people there seemed troubled, and we could overhear some of them murmuring something about bandits. Writing on the walls of some of the buildings said, "Hail, adventurers and vigilantes alike! Want to help with the bandit problem? Then inquire at the governor's palace and help us be rid of the bastards." Our main goal required us to keep moving, but we were willing to take some time to help out. This was exactly why Ketty and I had become adventurers in the first place, after all. We went to the governor's palace. Outside, 2 soldiers guarded the door, and looking through the windows, I could see more inside, including a few war mages. I could tell because they wore robes for channeling magic. The guards outside held war spears and carried short swords. They wore plumed iron helmets that covered the top, back, and sides of their heads, and that had a nose guard on the center of their face, leaving only their eyes and mouths visible. They also wore iron breastplates with muscle designs on them. They were quite fearsome to behold. "Can we help you?" one of them asked. Yes," I said. "We're adventurers here to ask about the bandit problem." "Great," the guard said. "We can really use some help. The bandits are robbing anyone brave enough to venture outside the city, and sometimes they even raid the city itself and steal from innocent citizens. We've sent scouts to search the countryside for their base, but they can recognize military uniforms. Whenever they think we're close to finding them, they just pick up and move somewhere else. That's why we need the help of average people to hunt them down. All we really know is that they operate somewhere in the nearby countryside, and their outpost would probably be made of materials that would be easy to disassemble and carry around, like wood and hides. Following the advice we were given, we spent a few days searching the countryside near the city for anything that looked like what the soldier had described. Finally, we spotted a campground of tents made out of animal hides and a wooden watchtower. We knew this was probably the bandits' hideout, so we approached it. Then, we heard someone in the watchtower shout, "Alert! We are under attack! Looks like more government lackeys!" We could see the shapes of many people coming out of the tents. Some of them had bows and fired at us. Zara summoned a magic force field around us that deflected the arrows. "Shit!" one of the bandits shouted. "Looks like they got a mage!" A bandit started running toward me. He was swinging a dagger wildly through the air. I didn't want to let him get anywhere near me, so I threw my spear at him and it hit him. I used magic to lift my spear back up and bring it back to my hands. A bandit swung a pickaxe at Ketty. She took a step back with each swing, just narrowly avoiding the blows. She thrusted the wooden handle of her battle axe forward, hitting the bandit in the stomach and disorienting him. While he was dazed, she took the opportunity to slice him with the blade of her axe. Zara used magic to turn the dirt in the bandits' camp into a wet, muddy mess, and several bandits got stuck in it. I pointed my spear at one and said, "You're all under arrest. We're taking you back to the governor's palace to meet justice." "Ha!" the bandit scoffed. "If you really want justice, then you should turn your blades against the governor." Not in the mood for playing games, I asked, "What the hell do you mean by that?" "This is all his fault," the man said. "Do you think we want to steal from our kinsmen? The only reason we do is because the governor taxes away everything we have, and we have no choice but to steal." With this new knowledge, I really didn't know what to do, so I turned to Zara and Ketty and asked, "What do you two think we should do? I know I'm not exactly the best one at planning ahead or thinking before I act." "We should go to the governor," Ketty said, "and demand that he do something about the taxes. It seems like he's just as much a criminal as they are." "Now hold on a minute," Zara said. "Right now, we don't even know if they're telling the truth. For all we know, they could be lying to try to trick us." After hearing Ketty and Zara's input, I had a plan. "Okay," I said. "I think I know what we should do. For now, let's just take the bandits into custody and bring them before the governor. They have committed crimes and need to be punished even if what they say is true. When we get our audience with the governor, we'll ask him about this taxes stuff and see if it's true. If it is, we'll see if we can convince him to lower them." "Sounds like a plan," Zara said enthusiastically. "Go for it, bro!" We bound the bandits with rope and took them back to the city on our way to the governor's palace. As we walked down a street, many people gathered to watch. "Now that you've stopped the bandits," a man in the crowd said, "why don't you do something about that governor of ours? He's just as much of a thief." "My son was one more tax away from joining the bandits himself," a woman said. "If something isn't done soon, I don't know if we'll ever have peace." Seeing that we had the bandits in tow, the guards at the governor's palace let us in. The audience chamber inside was one of the grandest rooms I had ever seen. The space was very wide open. The floor was all marble, and the incredibly tall ceiling was supported by columns. A man, the governor, I assumed, sat on a throne at the far end. He had dark hair and wore a yellow toga over a red tunic. He seemed like he was just concluding some business with some other officials. When he spotted us, he said, "Welcome! I will gladly accommodate the heroes who finally rid us of the bandit menace. You will be handsomely rewarded, of course." "If I may," I said, "instead of money, we would simply like to make a request. We've heard a lot of talk about taxes being too high and would humbly request that you lower them." What? The governor spouted, sounding both shocked and angry. You want to tell me how to do my job? The emperor himself appointed me to this position because he trusts that I know how to take care of the people. What would a wandering band of adventurers know of such things? They're probably in league with the bandits. Guards! Seize them! A guard approached me. I didn't want to use lethal force against an official of the law, so I swept his feet with the wooden part of my spear, knocking him off balance and causing him to fall to the ground. Another guard swung his sword at Ketty. She held her axe up to defend herself, and there was a clash of metal. A war mage summoned a spark of electricity that hit the ground near Zara. Ha! She laughed. You call that magic? This is magic! She summoned a huge bolt of electricity that lit the room up and sent many of the guards running for cover. I used this chance to run up to the governor and hold the point of my spear up to him. Enough! I shouted. This is over! Do you think you're some great hero, boy? The governor said. Suddenly his voice was very sober and serious. Do you think you know how to run a country? It's not like I take the tax money for myself. Houses for the homeless, clinics for the sick. These things don't build themselves. I'm just trying to help my people. I was hit by a wave of emotion. Had I not learned anything since childhood? Was I still rushing headfirst into situations before I knew all the facts? I wondered if we would have been better off if we had just stayed out of this conflict. Then, a realization hit me. I had the answer and I knew what to do because I had thought about it. But what good are houses, I asked, if no one can afford to live in them? What good are clinics if no one can afford the doctor's services? If you really want to help your people, you'd listen to what they have to say. We have listened, and we know that, right now, what they want most is an end to this relentless taxation. The governor's eyes widened. Truly? He asked very seriously. I just responded with, yes. Then it seems there is a great wrong that I must set right, the governor said, standing up and walking towards the door of his palace. He opened the door and went outside. People, hear me! I have an announcement, he said. A crowd gathered and vocally grumbled unhappily. I just want to say, the governor said, that from this day forth... Then he named off a very long list of taxes and declared them all revoked. There was an uproar in the crowd. They all cheered, and some even danced with joy. It was very uplifting to see everything end well. This trial hadn't been easy, especially for me, since I actually had to think and use my brain to solve things for once. But in the end, I was able to come up with really well thought out plans and was able to solve things in a way that worked out best for everyone. With Ketty and Zara's help, of course. I was very fortunate to have them at my side. Who doesn't love a happy ending? Zara said. Yeah, I said. I think we should move on now. It looks like our work here is done.